Hello there guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about F1 2013 and talking about my thoughts and feelings towards this game. So at the moment you can see here I'm doing a little bit of free running around Abu Dhabi. This is my 4th lap. One thing I will say is that the handling of the car, first of all, is what I'll talk about. It's quite twitchy, and if you get on the throttle early you are just going to be facing a massive slide like that. I had to correct a little there, and as you can see I went completely wide round there, so that's wasn't very good. But yeah, the handling is quite tricky, it's quite twitchy, especially if you get on the power too early, and it kind of reminds me a bit of, in that respect, F1 2012, where if you got on the power too early you would go straight round. However, one thing I have found is that you can attack some of the curves more like F1 2011, but you have to be careful on the outside curves because they do send you into a slide. And I do think that this game was more aimed with people that use a wheel more in mind, but I use a controller, and you can see there I kept it pretty solid around there. Oh, a little bit of a slide, but nothing major. And again they're having to correct as I go on the curve, but other than that the handling pretty much an improvement, I would say. It's more realistic, and you can attack, not that curve, but more the inside curve you can just give a little bit of an attack, whereas it's not like on 2012 where you had to avoid them at all costs. So, and then the general feel of the game when you're doing single player or modes like this, again, you know, you can just find yourself getting into a rhythm when you're doing these laps. I do recommend trying the Young Drivers Test if you are new to F1 game. That will get you up to speed about the handling very quick. Now I will say this, online mode, again the AI can prove to be a little bit problematic, though that incident in particular there I will take blame for. And as you can see, the way the cars get damaged and the parts fall onto the track again, that's quite realistically done, and a lot of points to that. But the AI online are still quite bad, clearly an issue they haven't addressed. But one thing I am loving about this game, and I will talk about this now, is the 80s mode, classic mode. Here I am using the 80s mode on Brands Hatch, which I've got to say is a fantastic addition to the game, being able to use some of the older track. Oh dear, that's not very good braking there at all. But being able to use some of the older cars on the older tracks as well is something quite special. I haven't actually had a go on the 90s stuff yet, but I'm quite looking forward to doing so, as I have got the classic edition of the game. Bought it today, set me back 60 quid, but worth it. And here I am going around Brands Hatch. And in the 88 Ferrari, I think it is. And one thing you'll find with Brands Hatch is that it's one of those tracks that it doesn't require a lot of braking. You've just got to feather touch the brakes for most of these corners. Like that one, but they're not flat as some gamers have suggested. And the handling of the 80s cars are slidey as anything. Basically you can get into a power slide really easily, and you can just find yourself spinning quite easily as well, so they're difficult to handle, but not impossible. You've got to really have a quick reaction about you if you're going to do well here. I'm going to go for a move up the inside into Druids. Take 2 of them at once. Now I'm going up to Damon Hill in that Williams car. But yeah, that's one thing that I'm really, really happy about. It's the classic mode, and obviously I will try and bring you some 90s classic mode when that becomes possible, and I'm quite proud of that move on the outside of Damon Hill as well. One thing that I do wish about this game though is that, as I go a little bit wide there, pushing so hard to catch Mika Hakkinen, is that you could race the newer 2013 cars around there. But I'm not going to complain. It's a good idea, good concept, and hopefully a little bit more tinkering and a few more tracks for 2014, please. But other than that, I am quite satisfied with this, and I definitely feel I'm getting my money's worth. So on to the last lap of this. I'm showing you a full 3-lap race on here because, well, I enjoyed doing it. It was a great race, and there is one more race that I have to show you on here, which will also talk about how I feel about F1 2013 in general. But right now we're talking about the classic mode, and anyone who's, you know, curious about this, I would get the classic game with all the tracks and the old cars. Oh, sliding there. No, it is worth your extra money. But obviously, as I said, there are a few online issues. Again, the AI that they haven't really tinkered too much with, and also the penalty system is another thing if you are going to use penalties, and that's especially if you're one of these people that runs an online F1 league and you have the penalties put in place. But you can choose to only have penalties for corner cutting in this, or switch them off completely. Personally, if you're running a league, I would put it on corner cutting only, and then for instance, therefore, league admins can decide for themselves who deserves the penalty. But that aside, again, the classic race at Brands Hatch finished second. It was a fun race. Had I not made that mistake, I think I could have had Nigel Mansell there, but brilliant stuff. And I know this isn't the most professional review in the world, this is just me talking about my own thoughts and feelings on the game. So this is another online race, and this is the final of them I did. I started, I think, 10th, 11th on the grid, coming down the left here, and this is how I got into second at the start. Late braking, ooh, nudging someone off a little bit there. Gutierrez tries to pass me, but I'm just having none of that, but he actually did get past. Now, the one thing I've noticed here is that I had to suddenly take avoiding action. I wasn't going to make the corner, and oops, that wasn't really what I wanted to do. But we'll move on from that, because we are now looking at an exciting battle between myself and Maldonado. This was an online race, and I thank my friend Jamie Boy, well, Jamie Boy is his PSN, for partaking in this race. Oh, I shoved Maldonado off there. A little bit of irony as I'm also battling the car, but yeah, it's a good. The handling of the car feels good in general once you get accustomed to it. It does take a little bit of getting used to if you have been playing 2012 religiously. Obviously, if you haven't, and that is not the braking spot at all, as I find, you know, do the young driver's test. It will give you a little bit of an insight as to how the car will handle. The tracks are looking particularly. The graphics, I've got to say, have again surpassed expectations, and for this game, I feel are particularly good. I feel that the graphics are. It makes it easy to follow. But yeah, no, obviously we're coming up to the end of the first lap. I'll talk a bit more about this race then, as I go completely off there. Now, some of the wide corners you can go wide at and it will declare corner cutting. I have found that they have addressed that and that's now gone, so hopefully if you go wide the game won't just decide to give you a penalty for corner cutting. I have heard that the penalty system has been improved, but there is a lot of debate amongst this, so it really comes down to your own personal experience. But I mean, personally, my friend got a penalty for nothing earlier when he was taken out by a spinning Ferrari, sorry, when we were doing a co-op race earlier, which will also be on this channel actually in a matter of days. So yeah, but overall the general game is very good, but if you want to get your full money's worth, I would recommend getting the classic edition with all the classic cars and classic tracks. Gives you a little bit more bang for your buck and just that little bit extra fun. There's 2 cars go around there. Now, Jamie said he had nothing to do with it and it was a lag issue. Obviously, some of the lag issues have not been addressed. But, you know, there is only so much Codemasters can do in the space of a year, I guess. But it is a huge step up from F1 2012, which when me and my friends would play, we would encounter endless problems with it. So far, it's got to be said, we haven't really encountered a lot. We've only been playing the game for a few days, but I myself have only played it today, so I'm wrestling the car there. But just having a lot of fun with it at the moment. It's one of the most fun F1 games I think I've ever played. You know, and the fact that they didn't bring out a demo and that they took extra time to finish creating the game shows that Codemasters were serious about making this one a huge step up. Now, I seriously enjoyed this when I was doing this. this last lap battle with Jamie Boy. So he comes up the inside here, and obviously many who know this channel or who know my previous channel knows that Jamie is very fast, so that gives me a lot of satisfaction to see him just go a little bit wide, get his line a little bit wrong, and I was able to cut back under him and retake the lead. Austin is one of my favourite tracks, just got to point out, I do love its general flow, even though I don't know how to race around it sometimes, and we both kind of do the same thing there. But I think I might have forced him a little bit wide. I was making my own mistake as well as him, but you know. So overall, the handling, very twitchy if you do touch the curbs. On the outside it can send you a bit twitchy, as you see there. Overall, the handling is a mixture of F1 2011 and F1 2012. The overall gameplay is great. The only problem I have is that some of the issues with the AI clearly have not been addressed yet, and again Jamie tries to pass me and goes off, which brings me huge satisfaction there. But other than that, I've got to say, overall it is a huge step up from F1 2012, and hopefully with F1 2014 they'll make it perfect. But for the best package, you want to get the Classic Edition with all the old tracks and cars, as that gives extra fun as well as the standard game. I haven't done the career mode yet, although I do look forward to giving that a go, and just all the other little modes that are involved in this game. But yes, I win that race there. So all that's left to say really is thank you for watching. This hasn't been the most professional review in the world, but I hope it is one that encourages you to decide on whether you get the game or not. I hope this could be helpful to you. Thank you for watching. See you later.